Greetings from Bali. This is Susan. And I wanted to give you a little update on what's happening mostly in the Ubud area. The most noticeable thing is that we have more traffic. I mean, really significantly more traffic. So what this is all about exactly, of course, I don't really know. But what I do know is that the government is issuing more and more business visas, and quite a few people, expats who lived here and then went to their home country when COVID started, are now coming back. And they're coming back, it appears, on business visas if, in fact, they don't have a KITAS. There's a lot of information on Bali COVID-19 update, so you can check all the details about what's happening and also the links to find out more information about that. The government's issuing a lot of e-visas now, so it's much easier to get a visa, especially if you're not here. So that's something to look into if you're looking to come back to Bali soon. Even though there are no tourist visas available, there seem to be a number of business visas available and also some social visas, although it looks like business visas are the most popular at this point. So it's just interesting to see. You know, the traffic is really significantly more than it was a couple of weeks ago. And so in some ways, I suppose this is good news, even though it's not as fun to drive. Okay, so let's see. Yesterday, Bali had 93 new cases. So the total, let me see if I have the total here. I don't seem to have, oh yes, here we go. No, I don't seem to have the total here. It's over 12,000 total. But the current active cases are 595. And the total deaths are 402, with no new ones yesterday. It seems that the people who are getting COVID are getting quite ill. Not all of them. Some are just with superficial, not very difficult symptoms. But many of them seem to be getting very ill and are in the hospital, and the hospitals are stressed out about that. So that's what's happening. And in Ganyar, Ubud is in the Ganyar Regency, and Ganyar reports the number of cases, but they don't report the location, which is very interesting because almost all other regencies will tell you what location, what village it's in, what district within the regency, all of that kind of stuff. But Ganyar doesn't do that. So we don't really know how much is going on in the Ubud area, as opposed to the other outlying areas. As I mentioned before, we have had a few cases here in Bona, not in our part of Bona, but in another part. And that seems to be resolving okay as far as I can tell. So the other thing that's happening is apparently among travelers, and especially people coming into the country because the PCR test is required, that the government is finding fake PCR tests. So it's not too surprising in the sense of how difficult it is to get a PCR test and within the time range that's required. So that's just happening, just for your information. It's interesting and not too surprising, really. There are more and more code shares. So many flights are actually code share from Bali to Jakarta and then leaving Jakarta on the main flight. But there are more and more of these code shares, which means it's much easier to leave Bali and you don't have to pay extra luggage and all of that kind of thing that was really quite expensive before this was possible. So things are opening up a little bit, and so that's in general good news. Most people, local Balinese people, are kind of managing. Not all of them. I mean, some are really destitute. But most Balinese that I know, let me put it that way, the Balinese I know are managing if they're very stressed out, even if they're very stressed out, and money is a constant issue. The lack of money, the lack of work, that kind of thing. So that's kind of the situation here in Bali. It's very peaceful here. Many people from the Ubud area, many expats who were living in the Ubud area have moved to Canggu in the south, primarily because Canggu is very active socially. There are many bars and restaurants and open, and of course it's by the beach. And so many people have moved there, and many have moved there temporarily. Like someone told me the other day, yes, I moved to Canggu to be more social, and as soon as Ubud becomes more social again, I'm going to move back. So it's just interesting, the choices we all make. And life in the village, I'm here in the village, and it kind of carries on. It carries on really regardless of COVID. It's very similar to how it's always been. The rice gets planted, the rice gets harvested, people do their ceremonies, less details and less elaborate than before, but nonetheless, it goes through the same routine, the same rituals, and that kind of thing. So it's quite similar here in the village, other than everyone's quite stressed about money and work and that kind of thing. So anyway, that's the local scene here from Bona and the Ubud area, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, bye-bye.